welcome back to the podcast that maybe you thought I forgot about, but you'd be wrong. This is Sincerely Whatever, and I'm Ryan Love. And I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, I thought we were going to talk about something crazy or weird this week. You said so. You said so in the last episode. Well, it's also been more than a week since the last episode. And while you're right, I did say so. The science community is failing me. I simply have not been able to get in touch with an expert on tumbleweeds. I've reached out. I've been steered in a couple of different directions only to get turned away over and over again. Well, no more. This week, we're talking about something just as important. Concerts. I found the foremost expert in concerts that I know, and we managed to dig into how he goes to so many shows despite working as a morning news anchor for the last several years. But before we get to my guest, you've probably already heard some music to start the show, and you're going to hear some more snippets of music throughout. My wife said she hated the music in episode 1, couldn't stand it anymore. So if you're hearing this and you'd like to provide the first original soundtrack to Sincerely Whatever, hit my line. He is the longtime anchor of Fox 23 News This Morning here in Tulsa. He is my Detroit sports confidant here. And is the most active concert goer I know, I think. Thank you for being here, Ron Terrell.
Absolutely. Hey, let me lean this up here so you can see that the Bad Boys. Yeah, you gotta represent.
Shout out the Bad Boys.
Mm-hmm.
So I see you seemingly once a week, if not occasionally twice a week, depending on the time of year, posting about you're at some show, you're at some concert. It's during the week. I know you got to get up early for the newscast most of the time. How are you doing this while getting up for that early morning newscast?
Stupidity, I guess, is how it is. There was a while, a couple of years ago, where I said I'm not going to do this on work nights anymore. We call them school nights. I'm not going to do this on school nights anymore. But that kind of went out the window because there was a stretch after COVID where we had gone so long without seeing anything. I saw the Rackin' Tours in October of 2019, and then I went like 17 months without seeing a live show. And then Green Day came to town and played at Kane's Ballroom, and that was when the floodgates opened, and I was like, I'm going to try to go to as many shows as I possibly can. And there are people that I see at all of those shows, and I know they're going to more than I am. But for someone with my schedule, it is a little weird.
How long is your co-anchor Michelle Lynn going to let you keep doing this, going to concerts over and over, and leaving her up there on her own?
I try. Well, like for Paul McCartney, for example, just here within the last couple weeks. I took the day off after that.
Fox 23 News This Morning starts right now.
Good morning on your Thursday. I'm Michelle Lynn.
And I'm Alexa Mosterman for Ron Terrell. It's 5 o'clock. We'll get to your top stories in just a moment.
Now, the day before that was the U2 thing at Kane's Ballroom. I did not take the morning off after that. So it's just kind of a hit or miss thing. It's like, how much PTO do I have left to
right.
be able to get some sleep after a concert? And I love the ones that are, Friday, Saturday, those shows. And those always work out, too, if you're going to a show like at Mercury Lounge or something like that. Those shows are usually on a Friday or Saturday, the ones that that I see that I'm like, I might pop in there and check that out. That's on a Friday or Saturday. It works out perfectly. I'm still completely messing with my schedule on the weekend by doing that, but it's a lot better than, getting home at 11 and then having the first alarm go off at 2 and trying to get through the day on, Bill Snyder type sleep.
As I mentioned, you're a big sports fan. Having your schedule in general with trying to watch sports, which typically happen at night, how are you? Are there a lot of naps involved? Are you sleeping through like a portion of the day, then getting back up and then going back to bed?
There are some naps occasionally. I was never really a nap guy, but then I started doing this, and your schedule as you get older, obviously, I've been doing the mornings now for 19 years, I guess. And eventually, you start becoming a nap guy.
Yeah.
But, I really, I cherish the day baseball games when the Tigers have an afternoon game. I can watch that and not have to worry about staying up. And most of the night games, I end up going to bed and missing it and watching highlights in the morning or something. But during the NBA playoffs, it's tougher. NHL playoffs, it's a little bit tougher. Now that our teams are doing better.
I know, yeah. I feel like I went a long time not actually having to care about how they were doing, because the half the time, like the Tigers were down for a while, the Pistons were down for had been down up until really last year, and then obviously the Lions up until the last 5 years had been a team that I just didn't have to care about for an extended amount of time.
It does make it easier, yeah. When you're not sitting there on every pitch, you're waiting, you're watching basketball, you're watching football, like every play is huge. And yeah, it's a lot more pressure now. I'm a lot more stressed, I think, because we're good at stuff.
Yeah, it makes my Sundays and whatever other days of the week for sports makes them a lot more polarizing, So go back to concerts. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Well, I mean, you talk about someone like Paul McCartney. It's like you're going there, and the guy's 83 years old. And that show the other day, obviously his vocal range isn't what it used to be, and he understands that, so he doesn't try to hit those notes, as he would have, in the past. But just to hearing those songs played by a band that does a great job, and there's Paul McCartney. I mean, they're all kind of like my children. The concerts that I attend, they're all favorites of mine. Got to see Oasis in September in Los Angeles, and in terms of the scope and just the hugeness and the massiveness of the event, and how good they were, they sounded fantastic.
By now you should have somehow realized what you got to do. I don't believe that everybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the weddings on the street, the fire hiding sound. I'm sure you heard it.
That one's going to be up there for a long time. As far as I'm concerned, it was a great show.
Tell me about what's the first concert that you remember, not necessarily the first concert you went to, because everybody kind of goes to a concert, maybe your parents drag you to something and you're like, this whatever, but the first concert that you remember you're going to that you're like, oh, this is something I need to keep coming back to.
I actually got really lucky because when I was a kid, it was all Tigers games, Pistons games, Lions games, Red Wings. We were always at sporting events. And then it was 1985. My dad took me to see Bruce Springsteen at the Silverdome. That was my first concert. And I was like, this is awesome. And then the next two concerts I went to were also at the Silverdome, and it was The Who and the Rolling Stones. So those were my first three concerts. And I'm like, you can't get much bigger than those three for your first three shows in a place like the Silverdome, where the acoustics were awful, because it's a hefty bag with everything reverberating off of it. But those three shows, I was like, yeah. And then I started doing sports early '90s, and my concert going kind of tapered off because I was on the road or covering sporting events on the weekends, and so I didn't go to as many. I still went to quite a few concerts in the '90s, but once I moved to news, I had a little bit more freedom as far as that was concerned, and then off we went.
What's the biggest challenge for you, going to concerts, whether it be that ticket price or or your schedule or anything, that as far as if an artist comes to town, you're like, I'd like to go to that, but I don't want to deal with this headache. Maybe it's just young people.
No, I think the biggest thing, the ticket prices are getting a little outrageous, and when Ticketmaster does their dynamic pricing nonsense and everything goes through the roof within 10 minutes of the tickets going on sale, I mean, that makes the experience so much more difficult. When Springsteen came here 2 years ago, I think it was, the tickets here were so expensive, they had gone through the roof. I was like, I'm going to pass on this one. And then a friend of mine had gotten some in Dallas relatively cheap. I mean, still expensive, but a lot cheaper than they were here. So I went and saw them in Dallas. And then by the time the show rolled around here, there were tickets upstairs for $30. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's go see them again. And so we went and saw them again. So a lot of it, is the prices, and like you mentioned, the schedule is not the easiest thing. The phone thing, I'm a little forgiving about it. I take a few pictures, but I try to do it. I try to pick a song where maybe not as many people are taking pictures, when the lighting's just right, and then that's it. You try to get your pictures in, and then you kind of wrap it up. Now there's obviously instances where a certain song is being played, and you're like, well, I kind of have to roll on this, but there are so many now, so many shows, so many options, and so many different places to see them here that for a town the size of Tulsa, we get so many shows. We are so fortunate and blessed to get the shows that we get coming through here. It's really cool.
I take my fair share of like pictures and like videos, like if it's an especially big moment in the show or something, or just a song that comes up that you're like, oh man, like that, let me get this. We went and saw Metallica when they were doing their like 2-night tour, when they were like had the 2 separate set lists on each night. We went and saw them at Ford Field, and
nice.
like I have like 6 or 7 videos from that concert that will never see anything except my phone. They'll just be in my camera roll forever. But I used to love and hate it, like when, especially when this was first when social media was really like getting going with like Instagram and Snapchat, and people would upload their videos of some concert or something, and it's just the worst grainy quality, and just like there's like hands flying around in front of the video everywhere, and you can't even really tell what's being played. It's just always that it's funny how people decide. It's like a funny social experiment to see what people decide to actually post and think that, oh, like this is great quality. People are going to love to see that I was here.
Interestingly enough, I have an iPhone, and the camera's okay on it, but my wife has a Google Pixel, like the latest version, and those have the best cameras on. I'm not kidding. I steal her phone at every concert, and that's the one I take pictures with, and then I text them to myself on her phone. I mean, that's how good it is. It zooms in so well, and it's like, okay, maybe I would consider switching from an iPhone to something else.
Then you text them to yourself, and then it's a green bubble, and you kind of icky, and you throw it away. You're like, ah.
I do post some of those. I do post some. The U2 thing the other day, we were, every spot in Kane's Ballroom is great, but you still take pictures in there. It's dark, and some of them don't come out. And I grab her phone and I start clicking pictures, and I got all these really good like close-up shots of the Edge and Bono on stage, and it's all because of her phone. She's very nice to allow me to do that in the middle of the show. I'm like, hey, like 5-6 times. I'm like, hey, can I borrow the phone?
When I hear that some like how that show came about, like U2 and coming to play Canes, and like whenever Jack White comes, I know you're plugged in. Yeah. Is it just something that you've sort of met these people over the years, like doing news and everything like that, where you just kind of find some connections to like you kind of know when they're going to be here, and you're in?
Yeah, I mean, on occasion, I mean, I've it's interesting because during COVID, I did this series called The Sheltered Life, where I sat like right here, where I'm sitting right now, and did interviews with people that were locked in their houses. He is one of the best receivers in NFL history. He goes by T.O. I prefer calling him Terrell because, well, it's just a great name. T.O. joins us, Terrell Owens. Thanks so much for being with us on The Sheltered Life.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Never thought I would be talking to a guy from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Question number 1. How has this impacted your daily life the most? And some of the people I interviewed, I just reached out to them. Like Terrell Owens did one, and Troy Aikman did one, Patrick Carney from the Black Keys, J.D. McPherson, Kristen Chenoweth, Gary Busey did one. Like, I was able to reach out and just talk to these people, and I asked them all the same 5 questions, about what was going on during COVID. And Patrick Carney, we continued to talk after that because he's a big baseball fan. and we still to this day will. He's a Cleveland fan, and I'm a Detroit fan, obviously. So we'll talk a little smack, but he gets us tickets to the shows when they come close to town, just because of that little silly 5-question thing that I did. Jack White's bass player is a guy from Detroit. He's a big Tigers fan. He got me tickets to the last show here. The U2 show, we actually became members at the Woody Guthrie Center and went through the process and bought the tickets, and it was well worth it. It was well worth it to do it that way. But yeah, sometimes those little connections can make a difference as far as shows like that go.
Now, with how many shows and stuff that you've gone to, whether it's the artist's fault or not, what's the worst show you've ever been to?
Wow.
'Cause I feel like to filibuster for you a bit, we went to see Sturgill Simpson last year and he was in Oklahoma City at the Criterion, and we went. It was like a Tuesday night or something, but me and my wife went. We drove down there, and he sounded great. He sounded like he would on like an actual recording somewhere. He sounded awesome.
Yeah.
But it was like the venue was like a just giant fire hazard.
I've been there for a show before.
They had absolutely oversold it. There were people like lining the streets, and then like to get in, but then by the time you get in, you're like, how are they going to fit all those people in here still? Because it was shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't get anywhere, and we left halfway through the show. We were like, I can't stand here, like
it's too packed.
Rubbing shoulders with people this whole time. It wasn't really worth it.
I guess along those lines, the festival experiences. I love the artists that go to festivals, but sometimes it can just become too much. Like it's just too. There's too many people, and my brother. We went to Bourbon and Beyond last year in Louisville, and he found the perfect formula because they set up two massive stages next to each other, and then they just flip flop between the two. So the gap between the shows is only 15 minutes. They don't have to set up everything. It's already set up. So we went to that, and it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. And he figured out the best place to stand was there were these big plastic covers over all the cables in between the stages. And it's like you literally just stand there and you go back and forth. You go back and forth. It was a fun experience, but like big festivals like that are, I understand why people like them, but it's, I guess because maybe I'm a fuddy-duddy now, and I just like going to see stuff in smaller venues. But so maybe that aspect of it. I can't really remember any shows that I was just like, I'm going to leave 15, 20 minutes in or anything like that. I'm willing to. I'm forgiving if there are moments that are like maybe not the greatest.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like especially with the Sturgill Simpson concert, like we tried to give it a go. Like we were standing in front of, like we were on the floor, and we were standing in front of like one of the bars, and so like we had just enough room to where people could get behind us. But then some woman like passed out right next to us because she's like all sweating, and then you're like, I don't even know how somebody's gonna get in here to get her out of here because it's so like.
Did they take the seats out for that show?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that in that venue. It's kind of you're just kind of in this big box. And
yeah,
you got was the upstairs open? I would imagine
it was open, but it was packed up there. Like there was, unless you had bought a specific ticket for up there, I don't think you could even try to be up there.
Yeah, and I even if a show like a Cane's is sold out, you don't feel like you're being pressed up against a bunch of people or you feel secure in there.
Yeah.
It's they never try to pack more people in there that can fit in there, but yeah.
I definitely feel like there's an age range that when festivals become sort of unfun, like where you can't just sit out there and bake in the heat all day, or like you're once you step in the mud. When I'm like, okay, I can't sacrifice any more shoes to mud anymore. Like I'm kind of over that. And I think I've reached that. I turned 30 this year. I've reached that age. I think I've reached the age of I cannot do that sort of thing anymore. I can't muster through 2 or 3 days of, of just chaos.
And that's the thing too. It's like to really get your money's worth at one of those, you need to buy like a multi-day pass because they price them that way, so you'll stick around a little bit longer. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to stay that long. We went to 2 days of Bourbon and Beyond, and that was good. Actually, my brother, I think he went to 3. He went to the day before I got there, and then we went 2 other days. But yeah, it was fun, but a once in a every few years type thing, I think.
You get to a point where you just feel like you're kind of surrounded by crazy people, like depending on where you're at in the place, you're like, and maybe again, that is just being kind of fuddy-duddy at this point.
Well, and the Oasis show, while great, and it was a great experience, and I wouldn't change anything about it, it was at the Rose Bowl, and the Rose Bowl is built down in this valley, and you park on the golf course. There's a golf course right next to the Rose Bowl, and they set it up for parking for concerts. And it's a walk, and then you're standing in line outside the stadium, and it was kind of similar in that respect, but it was one of those shows where you're like, all right, let's get to we have seats, so that's different than a festival. We get to our seats, we just kind of camp out there, and we're good to go. We buy a few waters before we get up there, and that way we don't have to leave our seats. We're in our area, and that worked out really well doing that. But yeah, and then getting out of there, it takes 2.5 hours to just get out of the parking lot at that point. So yeah, maybe those aspects.
Do you feel like you don't have as many like really bad concert experiences because you're taller than a lot of the people that are in there?
That is a very accurate statement, because I often think about that, because there are shows, and I don't know if it's just the artist that we're going to see, but there are most shows at Kane's Ballroom, I'm one of the taller people, but there are some shows where for some reason, whatever reason, there are like 100 guys taller than me, and I'm kind of having to do this the whole show, and I'm like, I can't complain at all, because I know I've probably caused the same thing for so many people.
It just so happens that tall people love Jack White.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the Wilco show last year.
Okay.
Everybody was tall for some reason. I don't know.
See, and
Wilco
I
has
don't even
tall fans.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even know what my brain is doing there, but like trying to think like for some reason I'm thinking of Wilco fans being short, but I don't even know why that is. I don't know why my brain's doing that.
I don't know. It's just it's a phenomenon.
So before I get you out of here, I have a couple of really important burning questions for you. Mm-hmm. Did the window for the Detroit Lions close last year?
I don't think it did. I don't know what happened against the Vikings. I think Minnesota played a great game. I mean, I won't take that away from them. The penalties, not sure what that was about, and so many of those penalties kept drives going. So that's something you could check off the list as fixable. Kirby's out. The offensive line's a little banged up. I don't know what happened with the running game so much against Minnesota. Again, their defense played well. I don't think the window's closed, though. I don't think the window's closed, because when they're clicking on all cylinders, they're still the team we saw, a couple weeks ago against Tampa. The offense wasn't maybe on all cylinders, but the defense played really well. And I feel like everybody's talking about going out and getting another edge, and I don't think they need another edge. I think Muhammad's been playing pretty well. I think they need to go get maybe another O-lineman. Zeitler's available. He's with the Titans. Maybe go get him. And then maybe another secondary piece, because the inconsistency in the secondary, Terrell Arnold, talented guy, but you still shake your head sometimes watching him play. And I wish that wasn't the case. It's only his second season, so, I mean, he gets a little bit more time, I think. But yeah, I don't think it's closed, but I feel like there are a lot of other teams that are starting their windows, and that makes me a little bit nervous.
And second one here, will you still be a Tigers fan when they betray us once again and let Scuba walk for nothing?
I've kind of gone back and forth on this, because $500 million over 10 years is a lot of money for a pitcher, a guy that's going to play 36 games in the regular season, maybe 4 or 5 in the postseason, and knock on wood if they were to get to the World Series, 6 or 7 games in the postseason, perhaps. Once I heard the price tag, that kind of changed my thought process on that whole thing. I'm like, as much as I'd love for them to pay him, and as much as I'd love for him to stay, I don't know if anybody's worth 500. Any pitcher's worth $500 million.
If he can start hitting 3 home runs in the game that he starts, also that would be cool.
Yes, that would help. That would help. Get him a few hitting lessons, and maybe we can start talking. I mean, I love the guy. I love his grit. I wish he'd have gone more than 6 in his last start, because I think he could have. But they put a few more pieces around him. They can make another run this year, because I mean, you think about it. They weren't far from a team that wasn't far from a team that lost the World Series by that much. So the difference is separating these teams. Even though the Dodgers have an $800 billion payroll, is not that great, and a lot of it has to do with who's hitting and who's pitching at the right time. Obviously, the Dodgers weren't hitting at the right time, which is weird. But, but their pitching was good when it needed to be. And I mean, Yamamoto. I mean, talk about
I mean, what do you do?
3 wins in a World Series.
Thank you for being on.
Absolutely.
And we'll have to do this again on not just concerts, but other, because you're a man of many things, and you got a lot of stuff in your brain. And
a lot of stuff. a lot of baseball lineups from the 1980s, but where are my car keys? I have no idea.
Right, exactly. All right. Let me get you out of here. Thank you for being on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah, anytime.
Didn't that conversation make you want to just wait in a merch line and sweat and wait in a concession line and be nose to nose with people and get your seat in the nosebleeds, only to still be shoulder to shoulder with the sweaty super fan who's jumping up and down next to you? Thanks again to my illustrious guest, Ron Terrell, for joining me. Remember, you can check this podcast out on YouTube. You can find me at Real Ryan Love, and you'll be able to see all the visual elements that help tell these stories a little bit better. So if you feel like something is missing from this show, that might just be it for you. And something I meant to include on the pilot episode that I forgot is what will be a recurring part of the show going forward, a reading from my dear late friend Brad's Twitter account. This episode's tweet from @Bardicus from November 23rd, 2018 goes something like this. Whoever gave the Ghost Adventures guys their show, bravo. See ya!